live. Recording. Hello again, it's me Chess back with another video. This time around I am in Rome. This is my 1934 World Cup round of 16 part 3, and that's a very long opening, very long title I should say, but this is my video. So again, like I did with the previous two videos, I'm going to pick 4 teams, 2 fixtures and discuss those two. So this video, finally we had the host nation Italy, who took on USA in the Stadio Nazione stadium. That is the stadium where the actual final does take place, and that is where I'm going to head to. It no longer, the stadium is no longer run as a stadium, so I don't know how that's going to work out when I head there, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully I'll be able to record definitely at least around the area, and hopefully I can get inside. We'll see what happens. And the next game, or the other game I'm going to mention, is the match between Spain and Brazil. 2 of those nations, Brazil and USA, are 2 members of the original first team, as I nicknamed them. That's the first 13 teams to ever compete at the World Cup in 1930. So they both make a return, 1 South American team, 1 North American team. We've got 2 nations that are making their debut at the World Cup, one of them being the host, Italy, and obviously the other one being Spain, the new batch. So again, got another one of original 13, 1 new batch going up against each other. Spain, Brazil, Italy, USA. Should mention this also, Italy are the first and only host nation that actually had to qualify for a World Cup that they are hosting. It never happened before, and it hasn't happened since. And I think that's a very good thing. Though that's where I question when FIFA does award World Cups to certain nations. No disrespect to Qatar, but because they didn't qualify for the World Cup in the past, and their first World Cup they've ever qualified for or played in was the one that they hosted. You know, I'd rather it be given to nations, and even in whatever region it is, but nations that have qualified for the World Cup in the past, personally. Qatar can qualify for this one though. You know, they're in a slightly tough position. But anyway, back to 1934 World Cup. So yeah, I'm gonna head up to there in a bit. Head up to Rome, the stadium. Sorry, I'm in Rome. Should mention also Italy, USA, Brazil, and Spain. I guess even though this ain't a group, but I've just put them in one. All 4 of them do host the World Cup. Obviously Italy hosted 1934, they do host another World Cup in 1990. Brazil hosted 2 World Cups later on, 1950. That's the first World Cup to take place after World War II. And they also most recently hosted the 2014 World Cup. The USA hosted the 1994 World Cup, being the only second nation, I should say, from the CONCACAF to host the World Cup, and they will be co-hosting the next World Cup in 2026 with Mexico and Canada. And Spain hosted the World Cup in 1982, and them themselves will also be co-hosting the 2030 World Cup with Portugal and Morocco. So yeah, cool thing with all 4 teams. Another thing, both Italy and Brazil, out of these 4, are 2 of the most successful, Brazil being the most successful, winning 5 World Cups, while Italy has won 4. Spain has also won the World Cup themselves, most recently in 2010. They've won, they won the World Cup in 2010 in South Africa. Them winning the World Cup in 2010 in South Africa, they're the first European nation to win the World Cup outside of Europe. None of pretty cool for them as well. Yeah, and USA I said in the last videos about the 1930 World Cup, they did reach the semi-finals, being the first and only nation from the CONCACAF, North America, Central America and the Caribbean to ever reach the semi-finals. Alright, let me just put up the teams. I might as well show the results because they ain't a spoiler, you know. The match between Italy and USA, 7-1 to Italy, great start for the hosts. And a match between Spain and Brazil, 3-1 win to Spain. So great wins for the two nations making their debut, while the two nations from the Americas, who did compete in the 1930 World Cup, unfortunately for both of them, it was a short night, or short trip I should say. Short trip? No, it wasn't a short trip because they travelled from the Americas, I should say. Yeah, it's a short trip, or it was a short vacation, or whatever. I don't know what I was trying to say. Anyway, they had to go, they, travelled back to Brazil and the United States. So I'm going to head off to the Stadio Nacio. Oh, yeah, heading up to there. The stadium has changed over the years, though. It's been rebuilt and that, but again, as mentioned, it's no longer active. So we'll head there now. So thanks again. Cheers away. It is as usual, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, I'm finally here. This stadium used to be called the Stadio Nazionale. Obviously they changed the name over the years. It's now the Stadio Flaminio. But I don't think it's active. I actually don't think this ground's active anymore. And I don't think it's been active for a very long time. Originally, yeah, this was the stadium where the World Cup final took place, the actual final between Italy and Czechoslovakia. But before then, a couple of matches did take place here, and that's what I'm just going to start off with. Alright, I probably should have stopped off a lot closer, to be honest, than round about here. It is what it is. But yeah, so this stadium had a total of 3 games played here. Yeah, 3 matches. 1 match in the last 16, or the round 1, round of 16. That game was between Italy and the USA. And then, let me see, did I have a quarter? No, I don't think any quarter-final matches took place here. No, but a semi-final match between, was it Czechoslovakia and Germany? Yeah, that took place here. And obviously the final between Italy and Czechoslovakia took place here as well. Jeez. That's interesting. But anyway, this is still part of my part 3 last 16 or round of 16 round 1 video. So Italy and the USA played each other in this stadium. This USA's second World Cup. Well, Italy, it would have been their first World Cup in 1934, and they were the hosts. Italy, as mentioned a few times, Italy are the first and only nation to have ever had to qualify as hosts. They played against Greece. Originally they're supposed to play Greece 2 times,
They only played them the once. They defeated Greece 4-0. And in the second match, Greece decided to withdraw, meaning that Italy was able to qualify for their first World Cup and as hosts. The USA, on the other hand, I believe they sent their application late to want to compete at the World Cup. They made the travel to Italy, but they had to play their rivals, their, I guess, continental rivals, Mexico. The game between them two, Mexico and USA, to qualify for the 1934 World Cup, at the time, I guess it really technically might be a small thing, but it's now more bigger with both Mexico and the USA being the strongest teams in their region. And Donnelly for the USA was able to score 4 goals in that game for the USA, knocking out Mexico and being able to qualify for their second World Cup. So this time around, unlike the first World Cup, only one nation from the CONCACAF or from North America was able to compete. That match also took place here, by the way. And so Mexico had to travel back home. Literally a couple of days later, though, Italy took on USA in this stadium. This match between Italy and USA had the most goals scored at that World Cup, a total of 8 goals, 7 of them being from Italy side. Italy defeated the USA 7-1. I think that's recorded as that's Italy's biggest win, I believe, at a World Cup, and that is the USA's biggest defeat at a World Cup. Just a quick mention that in the past, I think Lazio and Lazio and Roma used to play here different occasions, and actually, wait, once at the same time, I believe, like in the late 40s, early 50s. Alright, let's just talk about the goal scorers. In this game, Italy was able to not just have their very first goal scorer and obviously their first win. Their first ever goal scorer was also able to score a hat-trick in this game. Angelo Scarvio was able to score 3 goals in this game. 3 out of the 7 goals scored. He scored 2 in the first half. Orsi, also for Italy, was able to get a goal in the first half. Second half, so Orsi managed to score again, so that was 2 goals for him. Scalvio scored another goal. Again, that's his hat-trick there. Donnelly for the USA did pull back a goal, 3 goals up, so 3-1. And Ferrari, also for Italy, was able to score as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much how Italy was able to win their first World Cup match. Great start for the hosts, knocking out a team that did reach the semi-finals, who did a fantastic job in the 1930 World Cup. Surprised a lot of teams as well, but this time around for the USA, yeah, this is abandoned, it's done. I don't think I'd be able to get in. That's a shame, but it is what it is. Damn. Yeah, I'm not trying to climb anything, man. Fuck it now. I wouldn't do that in the UK, so I'm not going to do that here. Anyway, yeah. So that's so Italy was able to win. Shame for USA. Not even close to So not even close to how well they did in the previous tournament, getting knocked out straight away. But again, it was by the hosts. Also should notice, add to this, is the fact that Luis Monti, who happened to be Argentina's very first goal scorer at the World Cup, he played for Italy during this World Cup, being the only player to ever do that. Playing for two different nations, a World Cup finals. Monti didn't score this time around, but interesting enough, the USA got knocked out by Argentina in a 7-1 win. Ooh, there's something there. Yeah, in a 7-1 win. So, yeah, it's sort of left off. I believe Monti was the first one to score for Argentina in that one. Yeah, so, yeah, again, they got knocked out. Shame for USA, but Italy, as the host as well, managed to move on. I should mention that there are a couple of players from the 1930 USA team that did compete, such as Tom Flory, who I believe scored the second goal. Wait, no, I think did he score the second, or was he their first goal scorer? Second, he scored a second goal. Yeah, second goal in USA's 3-0 win over Belgium in the 1930 World Cup. So, yeah, he made the trip. So did Jimmy Gallagher, yeah, and George Morehouse. About 3 players made the trip. But their first ever goal scorer, as well as their first player to ever get a hat-trick, both McGee and Pentanood didn't play for USA at the second World Cup. And finally, on that, I should mention that they did have a change of manager as well. 2 Scotsmen actually were the USA's first 2 managers to at least manage them during a World Cup. Robert Miller and David Good. Something like that. Man, I should know the English pronouncing name, last names, right? But yeah, this is interesting. No. Yeah, I don't think I could do a stadium tour here or anything like that. But yes, I'm drifting. That was Italy versus USA. Italy going through. Last thing with the USA, I should say, they did withdraw from the 1938 World Cup. Did qualify for 1950, but had a massive absence from the World Cup till the World Cup was again hosted in Italy in 1990. And then since 1990, the USA has only missed 1 World Cup, and that was the 2018 World Cup in Russia. Right, let's move on to the next game. Oh, hate to miss out players. Mizaza was Italy's final goal scorer for them in their win over the USA. Alright, the next game didn't take place here, by the way. So this game didn't take place here. It was in the Stadio Luigi Frias, which is named after a player who was he done quite a few things. Footballer. He was an engineer. He was also a soldier who passed away. He died in World War One. So that stadium is named after them. It's currently the stadium where both Girona and Sampdoria currently play their games at. That stadium, by the way, I should mention, in the 1934 World Cup, it was only used once, and that is for the game between Spain and Brazil. I'm going to mention in a bit. The second World Cup, though, that Italy hosts in 1990, they get to have at least 4 different games at, this time around. So, massive step up. Obviously, more teams than that, and they had a group stage here back in that World Cup. Brazil. So Brazil, one of the original 13 teams from the last World Cup, Spain making their debut. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to get in. Yeah, that's a shame. Let me just film that part of it though. Anyway, Spain qualified strongly, beat Portugal 9-0 in Spain. Second time they played Portugal though, a lot closer game this time around, was 2-1. Still another win for Spain. And with those 2 wins, they get to qualify for the 1934 World Cup. Brazil, on the other hand, didn't actually have to play a game because the team that was in their group in qualifying was Peru, and Peru decided to pull out of. They withdrew from that World Cup, and because of that, Brazil was able to qualify without having to play a game. This also happens for Argentina, as I mentioned previously. Right, so that's how those 2 teams managed to qualify. The goal scorers in that game was Iragorri, Jose Iragorri, for Spain, became Spain's first ever goal scorer. Yeah, it's a good start for them. And the second goal came from him as again, Iragorri. Or Glory. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Jose. Or his first name is Jose. So he was able to score from Spain's first 2 goals at the World Cup. Also, the second goal he scored was a penalty, so he's also Spain's first ever player to score a penalty at the World Cup as well. Great start for him. That was all in the first half. Still in the hot first half. Langora was able to make it 3-0 for Spain, looking very comfortable win. Him, on the other, should mention, he scored 7 of those 7 goals against Portugal in those 2 games. He scored 5 in the 9-0 win, and he was the only scorer for Spain in the second game in a 2-1 win. Portugal was actually leading in that second time around. But yeah. And they did get a goal back, Brazil. Yeah, one goal back from for Brazil. Sorry, Leonardo scored for Brazil. This wasn't Brazil's World Cup. They did manage to score a goal. He has a much better World Cup in 1938, by the way, and Brazil in general does, but he still managed to score. With that goal, even though that was Brazil's only goal at that World Cup, still, Brazil, every World Cup Brazil has been in, they have been able to score a goal, at least one goal. And this is the only World Cup that Brazil failed to win a match as well, just the 1934 World Cup. Yeah, they still have a good record. After this World Cup, Brazil, 2 disappointing World Cups back to back for them in 1930 and 1934. Definitely underachieved, and I believe Brazil was a ranked team while Spain wasn't. So again, looking like they keep losing to the underdog team, because it happened to them when they were playing Yugoslavia in 1930. But moving forward, 1938 World Cup, they reached the semi-finals. They get to host the World Cup in 1950, the first World Cup after World War II, and they managed to make it into the second round, but unfortunately they failed to win on home soil against Uruguay. They just didn't need to lose that match, but unfortunately they lost, unfortunately for Brazil. Again, Brazil does come a bigger force though. They did get knocked out in the 1954 World Cup. I believe Hungary knocked them out, and that Hungary became runners-up of that World Cup. But then moving forward, 1958 and 62, they became... Cameras fried again. I'm so annoyed about that. Keep happening. But so I was talking about Brazil and how well they've done at the World Cup in the past.
kind of lost my track. What was that? But Brazil, yeah, Brazil and Italy are the only two nations to ever retain the World Cup. Italy doing it first. This World Cup in 1934 being the first they win, and then they do retain in 38 in France. Brazil, they win for the first time in 1958 and retain in 62. So yeah, that's a massive achievement for both nations. And yeah, so again, not the greatest World Cup for Brazil. Arguably, probably their worst performance. Well, they've only had one game to play, to be fair, but I would say one of their worst. And but yeah, they got knocked out of this World Cup, and Spain managed to move on, setting up a Spain-Italy quarter final, and that. So yeah, and I'll talk about that game later on. All right then. All right. Yeah, this is my World Cup videos for part 2. Sorry, part 3. This is part 3. Last 16 or round of 16 or the first round or whatever I choose to name it another day. But this is my video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it as usual. And again, bye.